It is that time of the day that we are talking important stuff, and that is, of course, Econo Chat. Let's talk business with Mr. Daniel Steinman. A very interesting topic today, and that is inequality. And I know that a lot of people are going, inequality, finally, we're talking about inequality. And when we're talking about inequality, it's not just, about the salaries that are not, equal when it comes to male and female. It's not about the woman doing the work at home and still having to get up and going to work every day and still having to go and be a housewife. We're not talking about that inequality. We're talking about economic inequality. A warm welcome to everyone, and a warm welcome to Mr. Daniel Steinman.
Thank you, Elsabe. Can I go home now?
No.
You've basically answered.
No.
You've cut it short, reduced it to what it should be. I call the concept inequality existential economics. Now, that in itself is a mouthful. So one can't just leave it there in the air. You have to say, first of all, what it is that you're looking at. Because I can guarantee you, get 100 people into a room and ask them their opinion on equality, and you are going to get 100 different opinions.
Yeah.
So to engage in a meaningful discussion, to increase the knowledge that we have about the effects of inequality, we first need to sort of establish a few ground rules in terms of definitions.
Yeah.
I've just called it existential economics. Let me start by giving a bit of background. For the last 30 years, I think more and more leading economists across the world have realized that GDP, gross domestic product, which is universally used as the benchmark to measure progress, did not measure human development. And this is a fairly significant shortcoming, because, and I don't want to dwell on that, I can carry on for weeks about the shortcomings of GDP, and I'll be joined by thousands of other people. That's a different topic. That's a very technical, analytical sort of thing. All I can tell you, and this everybody will understand, GDP has got some very weird mathematical tenets built into the whole structure of GDP. And just one example. If we export diamonds to a site holders meeting auction in Gaborone in Botswana, and local diamond polishing companies go and they buy those rough diamonds there and they bring them back to Namibia, they import them, but only to polish them, to re-export them again.
Yeah.
Now I can get, those are 3 transactions. On the books, they tend to increase the value of the transactions that actually took place with a single commodity. I can guarantee you that the people working in the diamond factories did not get 3 times the salary.
Of course not.
Do you see and this is just one example. There are hundreds. And I'm using this because it's very easy to understand. So when we get to existential economics, when we get to human development, this realization that GDP is outdated, or that it tends to inflate economic performance, or it tends to provide a distorted picture where the fruits of the economy, in other words, the benefits, are not distributed evenly. And by evenly, we don't say that it has to be equal to everybody. That we will know is unrealistic. But in terms of the input that you bring to the economy, you have to be compensated in an equal fashion. Does that make sense?
It does.
So it doesn't mean that we're all going to have the same salaries. The cleaner and the CEO, that's not what addressing inequality is all about. But it is the distorted skewness, if there is such a word.
I understand what you're saying.
Between incomes and between splitting the benefits of the economic activity of a commercial concern, which is a company.
Yeah.
So if you look at a very practical thing, and this is what brought me to this topic. It is now winter. And every winter, all the banks and all the fuel companies and all the big companies, they've got a winter drive, and we collect blankets and we dish them out, usually after the winter.
Yeah.
It's so funny for me. All these blankets, all this warm clothing, where it would have been easier to go to something like a basic income grant, which is also existential economics, but which is an economic way of addressing inequality. So I want to get a bit more into that part, that the way that you experience inequality, to get away from the economic discussion, because the economic discussion tends to be academic, abstract, and most people quickly lose interest. But if you're cold or hungry in winter, you don't lose interest.
Let's quickly go for a short break.